Okay, Erev Tov. So we had a first shiur on this topic of what does the Torah tell us about wars. We had a shiur about this previously. The main thing we did in that shiur, I would say two things. One is to notice that Avraham Avinu was the first Jew who went to war. He wasn't only a person of chesed, he was also a person of war. When Lot was taken captive with the people of Sodom by the four kings, he waged war against those four kings and won and redeemed Lot and the people of Sodom. And that was Avraham Avinu. And it's an important point because we think of Avraham as a person of chesed, which he was. But also, chesed also sometimes includes war. Because when you have people like those four kings standing against you, and sometimes chesed needs to be war, very relevant in these days. It's not a choice between chesed or pacifism. If there are evildoers in the world, sometimes we have to go to war with them. And it's an important lesson to understand that that's part of the way of tikkun olam, of Abraham bringing good and morality and chesed into the world. The other thing is we saw in Sefer Dvarim a series of laws about war, including giving motivation, including in certain wars, some people go home and some soldiers go home and don't take part in the war because they were building a home, getting married, planting a vineyard, meaning we give space for life on the one hand. We go to war, but we remember that our war is about life. We are not Hamas, who says, our highest value is death, our highest value is life. So even at times of war, we give space for life. A person who gets married is exempt from the army for a while, things like that. At the same time, we differentiate between two different kinds of wars, and wars which are called milchemet mitzvah. One of them is protecting Am Yisrael and the Jewish kingdom or the Jewish state, is milchemet mitzvah. Even a chatan and kala have to leave being a chatan and kala and go to war. As the pasuk, it's a pasuk in Yoel, and then it's a Mishnah. Mishnah says, "Afilu chatan mechadro v'chala mechupata." And we've seen examples of that. And now in this war, we see people getting married while they're in their service and putting together that aspect of life and war, which is death. And we saw the values that are included there. For instance, keeping sensitivity to life while you're going to war, which is death, not becoming insensitive to death. If there's one individual, a dead body that's found near a certain city, we don't know who killed him, we don't just brush it off, we make a whole to-do about it because we don't want to become indifferent to people dying, whether it's in war or outside of the war. So these are some of the basic values we spoke about in the previous time that we discussed this issue. And today I'd like to get into a little bit more into some details of halachot, specific halachot, and mainly two examples, and maybe raise a third question if we have time. I'm going to share the screen for some psukim from Sefer Dvarim. Here we are. You want a Tanakh? Will that help?
Oh, yeah, that would be good.
Wait. I have to see if it's here. 1 second. Sorry, everyone. Oh, right over there, Mark. Under the book is a Tanakh. Dvarim Perek Kaf, it doesn't have English, it's in Hebrew. I can look for one in English, but it's not in this one. Okay, so here we have the psukim in Dvarim Perek Kaf. Dvarim Perek Kaf. And here we have them in English. Here you see the Hebrew. Ki tikrav el ir leilachem alea vekarata elea leshalom. The Torah says when you come close to a city to go to war against it, first you proclaim peace, you call for peace. And if the city answers with peace, then and opens up, then they will be, the Torah says, Vayulecha lamas va'avaducha. They shall be tributary, is that the right pronunciation? Yeah. Unto thee, they shall serve you. I will discuss soon the details of what this means. And Hashem, and they will serve you. And if they don't make peace with you, Pasuk 12, if it will make no peace with you, but will make war against you, then you shall besiege it, and Hashem will deliver it into these people into your hands, and you smite every male and take the women and the cattle and things that as prisoners or slaves of some kind. And then the Torah differentiates between two different kinds of cities. In Pasuk 15, you shall do to the cities, this is what you do to cities that are very far away, not the cities of the 7 nations of Canaan, but the cities of the 7 nations of Canaan, you have to destroy, not let them live, destroy them. And the Torah details these cities: the Chiti, the Amori, the Kanaani, the Prizi, the Chivi, the Yebusi, and because if we leave them, we will end up learning their abominations, which they have done unto their gods, and sin against Hashem. So the Torah is saying, cities that are far away from you, you can leave them if they make peace with you. Cities that are near you, we don't want to learn from them. This goes back to something we discussed in the past, or maybe even the previous shiur. If we understand the need to wipe out the people of Canaan and conquer the land of Canaan, Eretz Israel, if we think of them, if we understand who they are, if we remember Sdom, which is the parasha we just read this past Shabbat, if we understand why Sdom is destroyed, Sdom is not, Avraham Avinu tries to save Sdom. In the last Shabbat's parasha, Avraham tries to save Sdom. He argues with Hashem. It's not justice. Maybe they have 50 tzaddikim, maybe they have 10 righteous people. And Hashem says to him, you know what, if they have, I won't destroy the city. But the city is destroyed, meaning they don't even have 10 righteous people. The whole city is based on corruption, on immorality, taken to an extreme. It's mentioned in Psukim and Yechezkel. We see it in the Torah when the messengers who came to tell Abraham and Sarah that they would have a son, when they move on to Sdom, Abraham and Sarah hosted them, were hospitable to them. When they move on to Sdom, Lot brings them in, and the people of Sdom surround his house and demand to take those people out and hurt them and then harm them. So Sdom is the example of being the opposite of the values of Abraham, the opposite of the values of morality. And if you think of Sdom as ISIS, and you think of Hamas as ISIS, so you understand the attitude towards Sdom. And if you think of the people of Canaan in that way, you understand why this is something that Am Yisrael has to fight against, to create something different in the land of Israel. Of course, the truth is this is another issue, but I'll just mention it in passing, although it's very important. If we deteriorate, if Am Yisrael deteriorates, and we become like the Knaanim, God forbid, you know what happens? We get kicked out of this land. If we become a corrupt nation, we don't have insurance that we can live here. We have a covenant with Hashem. If we keep that covenant, then we are given the opportunity to live in the land of Israel and prosper and bring light to the world and bring tikkun to the world from Eretz Yisrael. But if we miss our mission, if we miss the point and we become like the Knaanim, then we are sent out to Galut. We'll get another chance, maybe in 70 years, maybe in 2,000 years. Don't get it wrong. Who knows how long it will be till we get another chance. So here also the Torah is saying, if they make peace with you, and in a moment we'll discuss what does it mean that they will become tributary unto you, serve you. We'll discuss that in a moment. Then you can keep them also here, also far away. We'll discuss that in a moment. But the halakha is, the mitzvah that's mentioned here, is to call for peace. And the Midrash says, I have this in Hebrew, I'll translate. The Midrash says, look how strong is the power of peace. Even when you're going to war with swords and, what are they called? Remachim, daggers, with swords and daggers, Hashem says, when you go to war, first open with a proposition of peace. Try to open with peace. And Sefer HaChinuch says, because Midat HaRachmanut, the trait of being merciful, is a trait which is worthy for Am Yisrael. Being a holy nation means being people who are merciful. We are merciful even with our enemies who are idol worshippers, Oivim Ovdei Avodah Zarah, because this is our loftiness. our loftiness demands from us that we be merciful even to idol-worshipping enemies. Not because they're worthy of it, but we have mercy and chesed. We try to bring good to the world. So we offer them peace. Offering peace doesn't mean there are no conditions. We'll discuss the conditions in a moment. But first of all, we offer peace. If we have to, we go to war. For all of the Jewish history, that has been our directive and our character. We first offer peace. When we have to, we go to war. For 75 years, the state of Israel every year says, every new government offers our hand in peace to our neighbors, to the countries around us, even when we know that there's no chance they're going to accept it. But maybe one day, because it's always, this is our character, and it's based on this mitzvah in the Torah. And there are two disagreements between Rashi and Rambam about this mitzvah. One of them is Rashi says it's only in the wars that are not about Eretz Yisrael, about protecting Am Yisrael far away. And what it means that the nations will make a peace agreement with us is they have to pay taxes to Am Yisrael and slavery. I'll discuss the word slavery in a moment. And the nations that are far away, because these are the nations that are far away, we have no interest in them accepting faith in Hashem. Sheva mitzvot b'nei Noach, the Noahide mitzvot. Rambam says that what they have to accept includes Sheva mitzvot b'nei Noach. Then they can live with us, because the Rambam says this is also about the nations near us. Now I'm going to discuss a little bit the details. The details are that in order to make peace with Am Yisrael, they have to accept, what does it mean to be, what was the word we used in English? Subjugated, is that a good word? To Am Yisrael? Does that word work?
Yeah.
The word we saw here was
Tributary.
Yeah, a tributary, right, to Am Yisrael. But what Arav, what I do? Is everybody with me? Okay, we're still here. I lost you for a moment. Okay. So what it means is that there is going to be a state of Israel, a Jewish state, in the past a Jewish kingdom, today a Jewish state, and they have to accept that. They have to be under the rule of that Jewish state. You can't make peace with Am Yisrael and remain here in Eretz Yisrael and fight against the Jewish state. So if I look around at Israel today, that means that if you want to fight against Israel, we have to go to war. You can't live in the state of Israel and fight against the state at the same time. And I would say if in the past it meant some kind of slavery or service of the Jewish state, today it would be you have to be a loyal citizen. You have to accept that it will have the rule of a Jewish state. We discussed in the past, not long ago, having another religion. If you have a religion that is not contradictory to the 7 Noahide laws, you can be a minority, even a religious minority in the state of Israel, but you have to accept the rule of the state of Israel, and you have to accept the 7 Noahide laws. And even, this is machloket, there are different opinions, but there is an opinion that this is true even about Amalek, where the Torah tells us to annihilate Amalek, to wipe out Amalek. First, we offer them peace and the same conditions. And if the people of Amalek say, okay, we're going to accept the 7 Noahide laws, one of them is faith in Hashem, but another one of them is no murder. We're not murdering anyone. We're not murdering Jews. We're not murdering anyone else. If theoretically Hamas would accept these rules, we could live with them in peace. Even Amalek, says the Rambam, well, if they accept it, they're no longer Amalek and we don't go to war against them. And the Midrash says that Yehoshua, when he came to conquer the land of Israel, he did this. He sent letters to the people of Canaan. He sent messages to the people of Canaan, offering them 3 options. One is, you don't have to stay here. You don't have to accept us. You can leave. We don't have to go to war. We are commanded, we are given a mission from Eretz Yisrael. If you want to become part of that mission, whether as converts or as non-Jews who live here under the Noahide laws, we accept you. That's one option. Another option is you can leave. And the Midrash says there was a nation called the Girgashi who left and went to Africa and built their lives over there. Or if you want to, we'll have to go to war. But we don't go to war because we want the war. We always try to veer ourselves away from the war as much as possible. And there are some questions that arise because of this, but this is the first law that I'd like to put down today, the law that we have to call out for peace. And one limitation to this law. If, because of offering peace, we endanger ourselves or our military, our soldiers, then we don't have to call for peace. Can we think of an example for this? Let's take, for example, the 6-Day War, okay? Before opening fire on the first day of the 6-Day War, before attacking the air bases of Syria and Egypt, we did not offer peace. But that's because the war was imminent. It was clear that we were going to war. We probably offered, I'm sure the government, when the government was established a year or two before, the government offered peace and they didn't accept it. When it was clear we were going to war, we have every right to be the ones who are going to fire first, because it makes a tremendous difference for our success in winning the war and for the lives of our soldiers. So we have this value, but this value does not mean that we endanger our people, our soldiers, for this value. If possible, we call for peace. We're always calling for peace before any war. But if it's going to put our soldiers in danger, we don't do that. What happened on Yom Kippur is that we were afraid that there's going to be a war, but we were afraid that if we move our forces first, then we will be blamed for instigating the war. So we kept back. And you know what the result of that was in the beginning of the Yom Kippur War, how devastating that was for us. And similarly here in the war that we are waging now, we should have, how much can you offer peace to Hamas? Take every Jew and all of Tzal out of Gaza, allow them to create a Singapore in Gaza, but they use all their means to create more weapons and hurt and fire at civilians in Israel. And we should have started a war with them long ago, but we try to keep away from war. And sometimes trying to keep away from war is overdone. Because we have this character and this commandment of the Torah to call for peace, sometimes maybe we even overdo it. I'm not shying away from the value, but I am saying we need to keep the balance between the value of calling out for peace, which is the intrinsic essence of what we're about in the world, and at the same time, remember who is Sodom, who is ISIS, that we can offer them peace, but once they don't accept it, we can't wait till they hit us. We should go to war with them. I'm going to stop at this point and open up for comments from the members, the friends over here, and from everyone else. So who wants to make a comment? Bivakasha. Eliezer.
Well,
Please speak loudly, Eliezer, so we hear you on this one.
I can say everything that I feel in a minute or two, but
I think you need to speak louder, okay?
Okay, I'm sorry. First of all, I think we have to think that history has progressed. I mean, that's our only hope for salvation, and that we have to demand that people obey the laws of Noah. But I would not make a parallel with the child sacrificing people of the biblical time, and that the and I think that one of the big causes of this last war was not that we failed to offer peace, but that we were arrogant. I think the arrogance shows through every place that you look about that. But but I do agree completely that where we see massacres, when we see the spirit of violence and massacres, that we have to fight against that and protect ourselves.
Okay, I would say, Leazel, first of all, I totally agree. History has progressed, and like I said about the offer that we make for peace, it includes being what was the word we said before, Mark?
Yes, something. Yes, definitely.
Be under the rule of Am Yisrael, and it may have meant tributary to Am Yisrael. It may have meant in the past slavery, but real slavery, and being people who give service to the Jewish state. And today we won't do that. I totally understand that. 1 second, understand that, and that's one of the senses in which the world has progressed. Another sense in which the world has progressed is, on the one hand, there are rules and limitations of wars, but it doesn't apply to Sodom, and it doesn't apply to ISIS. It doesn't apply to Hamas. They proved that it doesn't apply to them. And I think we, not only is it legitimate that we protect ourselves, but it's legitimate that we start a war. If we had understood, and I agree with you about the arrogance, but those are our misgivings. And I agree with that. But also we have to be aware of their cruelty, of their lack of values, of their ISIS is the strongest existence of people who have not progressed with the world. The world, the Nazis did not, and later on I'll say something if we have time, whether or not we can compare to the Nazis, but certainly the Nazis' ideology forgot about the progress that the world made until the 20th century. So when you see that needs to be dealt with in a much more severe way. The next question that will come up, and I hope to discuss if we have time today, is, okay, does that mean you wipe out everyone? Does that mean you don't differentiate between children and soldiers and civilians and soldiers and so on? Maybe we'll have time to discuss that. But the first and basic idea is that we always offer peace. We offered Hamas peace. We offered, there is a Palestinian people, there isn't a Palestinian people. Beyond all these questions, we offered them peace 1,000,000 times, but they proved that there's no peace with them. And we have to very powerfully destroy their infrastructure. How far do we have to go with that is something that's worth discussing. Should be discussed.
I forgot one thing.
Yes.
Sorry.
Loudly, please.
I'm sorry, I forgot one thing. First of all, I completely agree with you about destroying
Hamas, ISIS.
Hamas, ISIS. On the other hand, in the Bible, you know this better than I do, where Hakadosh Baruch Hu says that each people has their place, and that if they're willing to live in peace, they have their rights to their country. And I think that it's also relevant if people are willing to live in peace.
I mentioned that on Friday night in my words in Shul on Friday night about Ammon and Moab. Ammon and Moab were the sons of Lot from his daughters, were born in Parashat Vayera. That they are nations that end up living around us. They are not presented or projected positively in the Torah. Sorry, we're taking a break, going to the shelter.